The other day, someone asked me, am I worried when it comes to Zebec? But it wasn't even actually about the price. It was actually about how ZBCN was being held. Let me explain what I mean by that in today's video, what they were actually trying to say, and my opinions on it, even though nothing I say is financial advice, and even though I'm not telling anyone to do anything. Now, the reason why they even asked me this in the first place is because Simon, who is the CEO of Zebec, recently in an interview with Zach Rector, Zach asked him, how much does the company actually hold when it comes to ZBCN? Did you know what Simon responded? He responded that approximately 50% of ZBCN is being held through basically Zebec, which got this person very kind of confused and somewhat worried because they were like, whoa, Zebec holds that much of ZBCN, basically holding around 50% of the supply. They found it very alarming. So they asked me, why wasn't I worried? But basically, I wasn't worried because if we take a look at it, first of all, Ripple, which is very famous, did you know that they hold around 40% of XRP, of the supply, I should say? So when it comes to Ripple, people don't mind, but when it comes to Zebec, suddenly it's an issue. I don't view it that way. Now, when I told them that, the person then continued on to tell me that, okay, but did you know that Circle, who's the creator of USDC, they hold a big amount of ZBCN, and they pointed to like some other, large holdings when it comes to Zebec. But I told them, okay, sure, Circle is a backer when it comes to Zebec. And again, they do hold a lot of ZBCN. But I told them the other big holdings are actually held through exchanges, right? So it's not like it's just these random addresses that we don't know. That simply isn't the case. So if we take a look at Zebec, a lot of it is held through Zebec, right? In terms of the company. Then we also take a look at how a lot of Zebec is actually held through exchanges. Not to mention, we also take a look at Circle, who's the creator of USDC. They supposedly hold a big amount of ZBCN. So it's not like it's just random things that we don't know. And again, if we take a look at XRP, around 40% of it is held by Ripple. So when it comes to Zebec, it doesn't concern me in that sense. Now, people like to say, well, what happens if Zebec randomly sells off their ZBCN? Well, historically, they actually have never done that, in my opinion, to my understanding. And that's not even according to me. That's what Simon, the CEO of Zebec, said himself. He said historically, Zebec has never relied on kind of selling their ZBCN holdings to kind of fund their day-to-day activities. That simply isn't the case. Zebec actually has genuine products, right, that actually provide a use case in real life, which have resulted in generating them, basically capital, to allow them to not rely on selling ZBCN, if that makes sense. For instance, just in the month of April alone, their cards, right, the amount of volume, it generated somewhere in the tune of tens of millions of dollars. Also, just in the month of April alone, they had over 200 payroll enterprise clients, and the monthly volume was also in the tens of millions. So it's not like Zebec needs to sell their ZBCN in order to survive. They actually have this business model that doesn't require them to sell ZBCN, at least from what I can see so far. Now, I'm not telling anyone to do anything, but this is just from what I observed and from what Simon, the CEO, himself said in an interview with Zach Rector. Not to mention, when we take a look at Zebec as well, they have a very low overhead, in my opinion, in a sense where we take a look at their team, there's just over 20 members. There's not 300, 400. It's not like that, allegedly, to my understanding. So combined with a business model that actually isn't broken, combined again with the fact that they don't have that many team members, it just creates this condition where they don't really need to sell their ZBCN. At least historically, they haven't done that. So when it comes to Zebec, when people like to say, wow, what happens if they sell it? Well, in theory, maybe they could just sell it, right? But at the same time, they don't have a need to, in my opinion. Not to mention as well, Zebec actually has a deflationary pressure, in a sense, because not too long ago, they did announce that revenue from the Zebec products was going to be used to reacquire ZBCN, in which case that does create this deflationary pressure when it comes to Zebec. Combined with the fact that Zebec has a set maximum supply, this right here, I think, is actually not such a negative thing. Not to mention, a lot of other projects out there their kind of business model is not really sustainable. What they do sometimes in some other projects is that, again, the team holds a really big amount of the supply, but what they do is that they consistently sell it off like every month or every couple months or whatever. And what happens is that naturally, because they hold a lot, the price is just very suppressed in a sense where they're not having this sustainable product, they're not having a sustainable business model, they don't have anything really to have any use in real life. In which case, what they do is that sometimes they just promote their project and just slowly start selling off their, holdings to kind of survive. But that's not sustainable. Now, if let's say Zebec did that, that's very alarming. But I just haven't seen that historically. So I get the concern, but I'm not worried because I just haven't seen Zebec do that. And also, not to mention, do you think backers like Coinbase Ventures, OKX Ventures, Circle, and as well Solana Ventures, and also some others, do you think they're just gonna sit there and just allow Zebec to randomly sell off a bunch of ZBCN like that? A project that, again, they backed. Do you think they're gonna allow them to do that? I'm pretty sure that, of course, it's not like they're being controlled or something. I mean, I'm assuming, but at the same time as well, if let's say the Zebec team started doing something like that, don't you think Solana Ventures, OKX Ventures, Circle, and many others, right? Don't you think they're gonna start being vocal about it and tell them, "Whoa, what are you doing?" Right? Keep in mind, Zebec has a lot of venture capitalist backers. So when it comes to the capital side of things, that's not a big concern for them. They can make it month to month. That's the thing. They're not hurting when it comes to the capital side of things, right? It's not like they're low on resources. Combined with a small team, right? They don't have a massive amount of team members, and combined with a sustainable business model, and also, again, like I mentioned before, with a very robust backing, what do they need to sell their ZBCN for? If anything, I think them holding that much and also having these backers that are holding ZBCN in some cases, it does give the project a little bit more stability, in my opinion, at least. I would assume, because a lot of these big entities, they just see no reason to exit. That's the thing. When it comes to Zebec as a company holding that much of ZBCN, approximately 50%, as what Simon himself said, that doesn't concern me. That doesn't make me worried in any sense because I just don't see the signs for me to be worried when it comes to that. Now, when it comes to the price charts, it's a completely different case because ZBCN has been down almost 4% in the past 24 hours. But that's just like kind of the norm as of right now. It's kind of the normal thing that's going on because we're seeing Bitcoin have a slight pullback from 80,000. So it's nothing out of the ordinary when it comes to Zebec. But again, I just kind of wanted to address how there's a lot of people kind of worried when it comes to Zebec and saying, oh, wow, why does Zebec as a company hold that much ZBCN? That's very worrying. Take a look at all these random addresses. But again, if we just kind of break it down, the very big holders when it comes to Zebec is like Zebec as a company. Some backers when it comes to Zebec do hold a lot of ZBCN. That's true. Also, not to mention a lot of these exchanges, right? A lot of ZBCN are held through that. So it's not like it's anything concerning, at least personally for me. And again, combine that with the fact that Ripple holds around 40% of XRP, at least the last time I checked, it doesn't really concern me. I mean, if people view Ripple as kind of like the standard, if they kind of view that as like the, I guess, example, right? Why is it okay for Ripple to hold around 40% of the supply when it comes to XRP, but then suddenly when it comes to Zebec, it's suddenly like a bad thing if they hold around like 50% of ZBCN? I just don't get it. Now, of course, it's going to be dependent on how it's run, but if we take a look at Brad Garlinghouse, who is the CEO of Ripple, for Ripple to actually have a partnership with Zebec, which they actually did, Brad Garlinghouse probably did his research, I'm assuming. I don't know if he would just approve of a partnership like that with a project that isn't run properly, in my opinion. He does his research, at least to my understanding, and I think the team there also does do their research. Zebec also has a partnership with Stellar. Do you think that Stellar wants to partner up with something that is like badly run? I don't know if they would do that. Not to mention Algorand is partners when it comes to Zebec. That's another massive project too. Do you think they're going to want to partner up with something that is bad? Keep in mind, Algorand was the third most mentioned blockchain in Google's quantum paper. So let's just let that sink in. Do you think a project of that magnitude is just going to be like, oh yeah, we're going to partner up with a random project. No, right? They do their due diligence, they do their research. If they see things that are very alarming when it comes to Zebec, I don't know if they would want to partner up with Zebec. Not to mention Solana Ventures. Do you think Solana Ventures doesn't do their research? Of course they do, right? They of course do their research. Coinbase Ventures does their research. Again, they wouldn't be backers when it comes to Zebec if they didn't do their research and if they were so alarmed with what was going on when it comes to the tokenomics. I don't think they would believe in something like Zebec in terms of backing them, right? But I'm just assuming this is all a pure hypothetical. Not to mention, if we take a look at, let's say, in the case of Circle, they're publicly listed, by the way, right? They're the creator of USDC. Do you think they're gonna just randomly want to hold a lot of ZBCN and back Zebec if it's like so alarming as to how things are being run behind the scenes? I don't know if they would do that. Keep in mind, something of that size usually does do a lot of the due diligence on their end first, right? They don't randomly believe in things just for the fun of it. It's not like a spare the moment, like, oh wow, it's cool. They randomly believe in it like that. It usually takes time. They do their research, they do their due diligence, and they actually have a team that makes a decision in some cases. It's not like just a random person at 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. making random decisions themselves. Usually that isn't the case. So yeah, when it comes to Zebec, I just wanted to clarify that yes, I am aware that when it comes to ZBCN, the market cap as of right now, it's around 300 million. So you know what? What can I do about it? But I'm going to stay waiting. But nonetheless, when I take a look at kind of the question, am I worried when it comes to Zebec? In terms of the charts, no, because you know what? I'll wait it out. Typically, bear markets and typically market downturns are not permanent, historically, from what I can see, but we'll wait and see this time around. Number two, I'm not worried about how the holdings when it comes to ZBCN are being held, basically. So yeah, that's just my thoughts as of right now. I'll be sure to make more updates moving forward though when it comes to Zebec, because keep in mind, near the end of this month, there's going to be a large bank in Europe that's going to be announcing a partnership when it comes to Zebec, and it's actually going to have something to do with the Zebec and Stellar partnership. So that's something I'm looking forward to. We'll wait and see. And also on top of that, they're planning to release the super app when it comes to the mobile version. So yeah, I mean, there's things that I'm looking forward to as of right now, and I'll keep everyone updated if they do announce those things, or maybe some other things as well. I just want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a very nice day. It's been Lee the Captain. I'm out. Peace. Bye.